Hello everyone, my name's Kim, I'm a paediatric nurse. Doctors and nurses are around sick people all the time. But did you know what? We never get sick. We have a little secret that we like to use, and it's not magic, it's not a superpower, but it is the very best way that we can wash our hands. And I really wanted to share it with you all so you could have the best clean hands that you can have at the moment. Because you guys have been learning a lot about hand washing. We know when to wash our hands, and you're experts on this. We know we wash our hands before we eat, after we go to the toilet, after you've had a sneeze or a cough or blow in your nose, if you've touched a pet or an animal, and just if they feel dirty. So if you've been out in the playground and you come back in and they feel dirty, or you haven't washed them for a while, that's a good time to wash them. The other thing you guys know is is how long to wash your hands for. So there's been a lot of talk about washing them for 20 seconds or washing them as long enough that you can sing 2 rounds of Happy Birthday. But we haven't really taught you much about how to wash your hands, especially using my 5 steps, or the doctors and nurses 5 steps, so you have really clean hands and those invisible germs don't stick around. As you can see from my picture here, where the blue and red are where invisible germs are left behind after we've washed our hands. So you can see children and adults need a bit of a refresher on how to wash their hands. You can see the fingernails often have germs. The thumb isn't very well done, and the backs of the hands. And then on the front of the hands, it's around your thumbs and in between your fingers. So I'm going to teach you 5 steps how to wash your hands so you can make sure that you're really comfortable and confident that there's no invisible germs left behind. Okay, so I'll try without water and soap to start with. So the first step, most kids already do, is the fronts and the backs of your hands. So we're going to turn on the water, wet our hands, get 1 or 2 pumps of soap, enough soap to fill the middle of our hand, and we're going to wash and rub our fronts and our backs of our hands really well. Step number 2 we're going to do is the tent. And the children have been loving the tent this week, or the wobbly tent. So we're going to make a tent with our fingers, and we're rubbing it up and down and in between our fingers. That's because of those germs that were in between our fingers that I showed you in the picture. So the tent gets rid of all of those. Step number 3 we're going to do is called the handshake, or the good little student. One of the teachers said that this one should be called from the olden days when we had nice little students that sat still like this. So we're going to have our flat hand and curl your fingers, and flat hand and curl your fingers. And we're going to go backwards and forwards and get all the germs off from our fingernails. Step number 3, we're up to step number 4, is the tunnel. The tunnel is when we're going to make a tunnel with one hand, and we're going to put our thumb in there, and we're going to rub, and get all the germs off that thumb. And then we're going to swap and put the tunnel on the other side, and rub, get the germs off the thumb on that side. And step number 5 is the circle. So the circle is where we make a magic pen with our fingers, making sure they're all there, or a little duck hand, some children like to call it. And we're going to draw a circle on our palm. And then we're going to swap to the other side, make that magic marker with all your fingers, and do a circle on that side. We're going to rinse our hands under the tap and get all that soapy, slimy, sticky soap off down the sink. And then we're going to dry our hands. And you can dry your hands on paper towel, or a towel at home, or the hand dryers if that's what the toilet blocks have. We're going to make sure our hands are so dry that we can touch a piece of paper afterwards, and we're not going to leave fingerprints behind. Okay, so some people have taps like this with a lever, and so you can touch the tap with your elbows or your forearms. Otherwise, you can just use your hand. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to wet my hands, and now we're going to get our soap. So we're going to get 2 pumps of soap, enough to get in the palm of our hand and get a good cover. And then we're going to do the normal hand wash. So step number 1, normal. So we're going the fronts of our hands up to our wrists and the backs. Okay, step number 2, we had the tent. So we're making a tent with our hands and then we're sliding it up and down. That's why some of the children said it's a wobbly tent. Step number 3, we had the handshake. So we put a hand flat and curl your fingers, and a hand flat and curl your fingers, and we're rubbing backwards and forwards. Step number 4 was the tunnel. We make a tunnel with our hand, and then we're rubbing. Tunnel, left and right, right to left. You've got to make sure your brain's thinking, and then we go on the other side. And then step number 5 was the magic pen, drawing a circle. So we're going to do this, and that gets all of our fingertips in our palms nice and clean. So it's a nice vigorous rub to get rid of those invisible germs. Okay, now I'm feeling lovely and soapy. I've got the soap up to my wrists and everything's feeling clean. If you can, and I'm going to rinse the water off to make sure. So it's about 10 seconds it takes to rinse the water, and you can do some of those same moves again. So I sometimes go back to the tent. Okay, now it's really important, drying off. We want perfectly dry hands afterwards. So I've got my towel, so don't rush back to class or rush out to the playground. Take the time to finish all the steps. So there's 5 steps for washing, and now I'm going to take my time and make sure I've got lovely dry hands. So when I pick up this piece of paper, I don't leave any fingerprints behind. That's how dry your hands need to be. And that's the rest. That's the end of my talk. So remember the 5 steps every time you wash your hands. Teach your mum and your dad and your grandparents and your brothers and your sisters, and then you'll have the cleanest hands like us doctors and nurses. Thank you.